Hi, in the previous video I mentioned what is module pattern. In this video I would be refactoring existing JavaScript code using module pattern. But first let's discuss about the scope of a function in a file. So this is a Rails application, and in this Rails application I have a blank file called lab.js. So let's just write a function called hello. Console.log hello. Now let's go and refresh this page, and now in the console window what I'm going to do is I'm going to do window.hello. So this function is available directly in a global namespace, and by global namespace in the case of a browser it means window. So window.hello is available. And now if we go here and look at this JavaScript file, we have tons of functions here. Some of them are anonymous at the bottom. These functions, the event handler functions, these are anonymous functions, but nonetheless those are functions, and all these functions, all these names, they are available globally. And what it means is that when this file is included along with other files, we have so many files here, there is a possibility that one file will trample on the other one. And here we can see function names like remove val, add val, hide modal. These names are very generic, and it is quite possible that other functions might also have names like this. So once all these files are concatenated, there is a possibility that one function can override the other function, and that's not a good thing. So what we need to do is we need a mechanism by which we can make some of the functions private functions. When we write code in programming languages like Java and Ruby, there in a class we get to publish some of the methods as public and some of the methods as private. Those features of making some of the functions private are available in JavaScript, but they are not available in the sense that we cannot mark a function as public or private. So what we need to do is make use of module pattern and hide the functions which are private functions and only expose the functions which are public functions, and that's what we are going to see. Before I start refactoring, one thing, in one way this file is different from the lab file is that here all the majority of the functions, they are all being invoked on DOM ready. I personally think this is not a good thing, because these functions don't need to be executed in the DOM ready. Only these code, they need to be executed within the DOM ready. So these functions should get out of DOM ready, and I previously made an episode about how even in the case when we are interacting with the DOM using the delegation feature of on method, we can get out of even DOM ready call here also. So once we take these functions out of DOM ready, then those functions will become exactly like these functions, and then they would be directly available on the window object. Okay, so let's start with refactoring. First let me wipe this out so that hello is gone. So the first thing what we notice in this code is, if we scan from top to bottom, is that all the functions are defined at the top, and then we have at, document, on, and hence, and things like interaction with the DOM is at the bottom. So there is no need for the whole code to be in the DOM ready. So we can take this code and we can put it here. So now those functions are out of DOM ready. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing what we should do is the functions which are being passed as event handlers, these functions are anonymous functions. So let's give them a name. Okay, so in this case we can say this thing is employee list selector employee list selection submission, and I'm getting these names based on this data behavior and then the submit. So on submit we are getting, so that's how I got to that name. In this case we can give it the name, okay, so we can say employee list selection search change, so search operation, let's say, and then here is the search element container change. Okay, so selecting, because it's a radio button, so it looks like we're selecting something, selecting search result, selecting a single search result, search operation success. Okay, so those are the method names, sorry, function names. Okay, so now what I will do is that I will take these functions out of I will make these functions stand on its own and not be directly defined here. So what I am going to do is, so when we are passing the function name, we don't need to pass the argument. So we'll pass it like this, and this function will stand on its own. We'll do the same thing for this one. And same thing here. And same thing here. And I guess this is the last one. Okay, so now we have these functions and the interaction. So these functions are standing on its own, and we are passing the name of the function as a callback. So now what we can do is we can take all of these interactions, DOM interactions code together, and we can put them together. Okay, so these are the 5 DOM manipulations, and we can put them at the bottom of the file. Okay, so this is good. So now these functions are exactly like the previous functions. So these functions also don't need to be in the DOM ready. However, there is one difference between these functions and the functions above them. The whole reason why this file called selectpersonresponsible.js exists is to make this behavior work, whatever that behavior is. So for these business functionalities, we need to pass these five functions, and these functions, these 5 functions in turn take the help of these functions. So the functions which are defined at the top, they are like private functions, and these are like public functions, because these are the functions which we need to interact with. So you will see slowly why I do that, but let's start all the functions which are private with underscore. So I will put underscore here, put underscore here, put underscore here, put underscore here. Okay. And then this function, make it underscore, make it underscore. By making it underscore, what I mean is that they need to start with underscore. This is starting with underscore, this is starting with underscore. Display model underscore. Okay. Post model start with underscore. Find or create model container. Remove val, same thing. Add val. Hide model. Okay, so now all the functions at the top, they are starting with underscore, and now what we can do is that we can take the DOM ready call out of here, and we can put it right above this. Okay, because only this code, they need to be in DOM ready, not the general functions. So now we have two types of functions: functions which start with underscore, and functions which do not start with underscore. And functions that start with underscore, they are like private functions. They are existing just to serve the functions which are not starting with underscore. Okay, so here is the issue. The issue is that since we have taken almost all the functions out of DOM ready scope, all these functions are available in the global namespace, and that's not a good thing. So we need to make use of module pattern to hide private functions from public functions. So let's collect the names of all the public functions, and you will see in a bit why. So that is my so here all I'm trying to do is collect the names of all the public functions, and I believe there are 5 of them. Okay, so these 5 functions are the public functions. So let's get the names. And I'm interested just in the names, nothing else. So okay, and I need so I will make the duplicates of those, and I'm making duplicates because this is the object that I would be returning, something like this. ultimately this is going to be an object that would be returned. Okay, so this will be returned from what? It would be returned by the IFI, by immediately invoked function expression, which was discussed in one of the previous episodes. I will put the link to that episode in the show notes. So we need to put an IFI across the whole thing. So what we need to do is we need to do function So this is the IFI that is being returned, and so this is the IFI which returns this object. So we'll take this object and then we will use the attributes of these objects to invoke, to pass in as the callback handler. So what should it be returned as? Where should we store this object? So I usually put this object as, since the name of the file is select person responsible, where SPR, single select person responsible, SPR is that object. So once again, because of the IFI, we are returning this object. Once this function is immediately invoked, then it returns this object, and that object is being stored in SPR. And then here all we need to do is SPR dot, because SPR is the object and we are using the property, and this property in turn, this property returns the same function name. So that's how it will work. Okay, so now we have the SPR. So what is the advantage here? The advantage is now all the functions which is not exposed through this return, they are private. They are private to this SPR. So underscore val underscore remove val, they are not being leaked to the global namespace. They are specific just to SPR. So another file over here, they can also use module pattern, and it can have its own underscore remove val underscore add val, and they will not collide with each other. What will collide is if the other file is also using SPR. So let's say that SPR is already being used, then we have a problem. So what we need to do is we need to protect against it. So we'll say if SPR is not equal to undefined, it should be undefined, no one should be using it. If it is not undefined, then we have a problem. Okay, so let me refresh this page, and there are no errors, so that's good. So let's test that what happens if the SPR is already defined. So let me do SPR, this is just a test, and we'll define it as an empty object. Let's refresh the page, and I get the message SPR is already defined. This SPR is an object, and that object has properties which are the public functions. So if looking at the code here, we don't even need to have this code in the DOM ready, because here the way the code is structured, it's already acting on the document using delegation style, so they can get out of DOM ready. Once again, it has been discussed in another video and I will put a link to that in the show notes. So there we have it. We have refactored the code, and in the process we have gained a few modularity. The first thing is that previously the function that was being passed as the handler was an anonymous function, and the problem with anonymous function is that debugging is difficult. Debugging is hard as it is in JavaScript world, and anonymous functions make it even more difficult. So right now we don't have any anonymous function. Second thing what we have is that right now we have a clear separation of which function is a private function and which function is a public function, and because of that, code refactoring becomes much easier. Now we can refactor any of the functions which start with underscore without worrying about breaking anything. And third thing, because we are using SPR name, the private functions names will not be colliding with the functions defined in the other file. That's it for this episode. I will see you next time. Thank you very much.